Hey guys, today I would like to do the definitive 2024 Hobonichi Weeks setup video for you in September, I guess. I have been dipping in and out of this notebook since March of 2024. This has been my on again, off again personal planner. I jokingly refer to it as my emotional support Hobonichi Weeks Mega because when life gets really crazy, I find that bound book kind of just helps me get through it a little bit better than my rings. But full disclosure right now, I am planning in both. I would say I'm primarily in my pocket rings, but I've been reaching for this more and more, especially since it's been a great point of reference for the 2024 archive update, which is my Hobonichi cousin. I've got a whole video on this. I can link that up in the cards if you want to see that one. But today we're going to focus on the weeks. If you have not seen Hobonichi Weeks before, it has monthly spreads. It is month on 2-page, Monday start. There are weekly spreads, which is a week on 2-page horizontal, so Monday through Sunday on the left-hand page, and then a grid page on the right. And then I go for the mega, which means there are 200 plus notes pages in the back, and they are gridded and numbered, and they have this sort of invisible line margin. If you go for a standard Hobonichi Weeks, there's about 73 to 75 pages. This one has 215 to 219, and it varies year to year. But yeah, I'm a team mega because I bullet journal in the back. So this serves as my personal planner, so anywhere I need to be, goals, tasks, daily to-do list, all of that kind of gets consolidated into this notebook. I typically keep my work tasks in a separate Hobonichi Weeks when I am in bound book versus rings for a little bit more separation. And I do some light memory keeping in here, but all of the photo ephemera collection memory keeping happens in my archive, which is my Hobonichi cousin. So I think we can finally get into the pages here. So in the front, I use this as a inbox of sorts. I just use some sticky notes for running lists. This is my current grocery list. This sticky note is by Midori. Some ideas for something that I was kicking around. These smaller sticky notes are from Daiso. And then we have the year at a glance. I underline and pencil my paydays, so as I'm looking at this, I can tell if it's a 3-paycheck month or a 2-paycheck month when we're doing budgeting, and then otherwise I put down a foil sticker as we hit the month. These are from Amazon. The next spread is the year at a glance, which I use as my workout tracker. I just write down the workout that I do, and then for the first quarter of the year, I was highlighting if I close my rings on my Apple Watch with a blue mile liner. I haven't really been keeping up with wearing my watch this year, which is why I've kind of fallen off from doing that, but otherwise I guess I could continue. From there we have the monthly spreads, and I use this for event tracking, some high-level logging of information, so any kind of appointment, birthday, anniversary, all of that goes in here. And then in the sidebar I do a quick mood log, and that's just 4 different moods that I track, and how I interpret them honestly changes month over month, but it works for a while. I'm in here in the current month. And then down at the bottom I keep track of my big to-dos for the month. I have been doing a little bit of decorating, a little bit of washi tape here and there, but for the most part, I've been trying to keep them pretty wide open so that I can use the space as functionally as I need to. And I tend to decorate at the end of the month versus during the month, but it's been working out pretty well for me, and I like how they have came together. I don't think I mentioned this, but this is cream paper. You can kind of tell compared to my white background, but I do really like the cream Tomow paper. I find it to be a little bit easier on my eyes, and I just like the overall look of it, you know, dealer's choice on that. But here is our current month. I usually use a book dart to help me see what week that I'm currently on. And then I do write down future events directly into the monthlies. Occasionally I'll use a sticky note if I'm unsure of dates or something is tentative, but for the most part I'll just write it down, and then if it gets canceled I strike through it because I'm truly not that busy. So after your monthly spreads, we're gonna pop into the weeklies, and these are kind of hit and miss because I have been using this planner off and on. Oftentimes There are some blank weeks because I'm not in this consistently, or haven't been in this consistently all year, but I would say I'm in it for usually a week or two out of the month. But the general setup has been on the left-hand page, some sort of journaling. Sometimes I will kind of identify high-level events on the left-hand side. Sometimes it's micro journaling where I'll do just a line or two specifically about each day at the end of the day. And then other times I'll use the whole page to dedicate to something that happened for the week, or, you know, something of interest within the week, and it kind of varies. So I've been playing around a little bit with the left-hand side this year. And then on the right-hand side, I do a take on the rolling weekly layout. So I do Monday through Sunday at the top for my habit trackers, and then down below that is my running to-do list. And then with the Alistair method, I can soft schedule things in. So if I need to do something on a Saturday, I will put a dot for that task under that Saturday. And then I know I want to kind of pull that in when I set up my dailies. And if you see these lines that draw across, that just helps draw my attention to a date specific deadline or all day event. So for example, this was somebody's birthday, and it just helps me triangulate to what day of the week it is when I go to move this information onto my daily page, which we'll see when we get to the notes. But yeah, so blank, it's definitely not perfect. If I have space at the bottom, I try and do a little bit of a weekly recap. I actually will typically try and recap what the planner situation is looking like what am I currently planning in, what's the current interest, anything that's on my mind, is it working for me? Sometimes it's about what I'm reading. I've been printing out pictures here and there. I do a couple stickers, washi tapes, things like that. And this is about the time where spreads are filled out a bit more real time versus backfilled. So you'll notice that the handwriting gets a little bit messier, but you know, that's part of the deal. Did a little bit of watercoloring in this week. More photos. This is the week of the eclipse. I really just use the rolling weekly to help micro pre-plan within the month. I'm really like a monthly daily, like I could survive without a weekly, but weeklies help me kind of do that micro organization of tasks, and it gives things a landing page. So since I set up my dailies, which we'll see here in a bit more real time, organically, day by day, if something comes up that I need to do, you know, 2 days from now, I can pop it on my running to-do list and then tag it for an upcoming date. And then I know I won't lose that task. It's got somewhere to live. And I typically break in my monthlies at the beginning of the month. So pretty much anything within the current month, if I need to do something 2 weeks from now, I'll drop it directly in on that weekly spread. If I'm unsure of where that goes, then I'll pop it on my monthly spread. And then if it has absolutely no home, then it is probably on a sticky note in the front of my planner until I find it a home. Another blank spread. I have been printing out photos a little bit. I get asked a lot on my photos. I upload them into Canva, and then I will resize them. For the weeks, I usually shoot for a height of like 1.5 to 1.75 inches, sometimes 2. This is, I think, 2 inches. So 1.5 to 2 inches, and then I just vary it week by week. Right now, these are printed on, like these ones I know are Kikuyo business paper, so the print quality really isn't all that great, but my printer details are in the description box. I just have an Epson 6100 series. I don't know if I would recommend it, but it does print every time I tell it to print, so for that reason, it's very reliable. But this is our final week in Atlanta before we moved. And the move was a big reason that I think I've kind of ended up back in the weeks this year. I have really been enjoying personal rings and pocket rings, and I'd say I'm more productive in rings as far as like being on routines, completing tasks and projects. But when I'm going through something emotionally stressful, the weeks is just kind of what I go for. And I like that I don't have to print and cut anything. It's a laid out notebook, and it's a little bit easier to carry around. I don't have to do as much planning ahead to keep my pages up to date, if that makes sense. But here's when we relocated. Went to Trader Joe's. A half-filled week. Traveled this week. A blank week. A blank week. A blank week. And a blank week. It's part of the process, guys. But then here's where we kind of get back into it. Yeah, so this week I was using my Tombow fudenosuke to kind of just make the all-day events stand out a little bit at the end of the week. So they're kind of double dipped. They're on my rolling weekly, but then I was just transferring them again so I can see these a little bit easier. And then this sticker at the bottom is from Planning with Kay, by the way. This is an example of the week where I'm not doing microjournaling day by day. Hollow Heart by Porter Robinson. It was the 10-year world anniversary came out, and I wrote specifically just about the song or thoughts because this album is extremely important to my husband. So I wanted to kind of commemorate it being the 10-year anniversary. This is the week I went to my first IRL planner meetup, so a couple photos from that and some washi tapes that I got to put some samples together from. This week is just using some washi that came in with some packaging from a Baumkuchen order. And then this week is fun. I actually placed my Hobonichi order for 2025, although I'm hella second guessing a couple of things now, but I've got time to figure it out. But I did little mini collages of my covers in Canva and then printed them out, and I thought that was kind of fun to add. I'm breaking form for the month of September, and I'm trying out some new renditions of the weekly spread because I like having a more or less consistent weekly spread. It takes some of the mental load off of myself when I'm planning in here because I don't have to think about what do I need this week to look like. I just kind of have my automatic, here's how I use this notebook, but wanted to do a little bit of experimentation in sort of the same vein of using this a bit more functionally. I'm trying to bring in my meal logging into this because that's something that I've done typically in a separate insert. So we're just playing around with some different layouts, and I'm trying 3 or 4 different renditions of it for the month of September. So I think I'll do a video in October kind of coming back and talking through the experiments and see if we can pick a winner moving forward. But as you'll see, I've kind of got things written in for the entirety of September. Which is what I meant when I said like I break in things a month at a time, but October onward is completely blank other than a couple sticky notes here and there, and if I think of something I need to do in October, it just goes back onto my October monthly spread so that I don't lose it. Okay, so if you are new to the Hobonichi Weeks, you do get the month prior in this notebook, so you can usually move in December of the current year for the upcoming year. So I use the last couple spreads every now and then for collections, notes, habit trackers, and things like that. So the very last weekly in this notebook, because I know for sure I'll be in the new Hobonichi Weeks by the time I get here, I am using this as my index, and I do bullet journal in the back. I'm going to go through all my habit trackers here, but I will write down kind of when a month starts, core collections, notes, list, reference information, anything that I want to find again goes in the index. And that is one thing I really love about the Hobonichi Weeks compared to rings, is I don't have to think about like collecting information. Like I real time kind of just write it down into here, and at the end of the year it's all still in here. So the only thing I need to do to kind of be able to find that again is add an entry to my index. And so that's something that I do really like about bullet journaling kind of in this hybrid format. So habit trackers are kind of where I always start. I've got my cycle log. This is an insert from my shop, the Ghosting Pen. And then I've printed this on Tomow River paper, just cream Tomow River paper, so it stays nice and thin. I've got a tip in here. This is an insert from Peanuts Planner Co. I think this is her 147 dated yearly bundle, and this is where I track like alcohol, eating out, eating dairy, that kind of thing, just for the year. Next, I have my adulting log, which is just, again, another Alistair method for my non-reoccurring automated adulting tasks. So I've got like monthly cleaning things, when did we wash the mattress pad, the shower curtain, changing filters, things like that, oil change, registration, prescriptions, insurance, all that kind of stuff is kind of indexed here so that I can find kind of when did I last. I have my debit spread, which is just a tool to help me manage finances between our various accounts. And then I have a spending / package tracker spread, so date, money in or money out, my balance, description, shipped, and then received. I've got my date night log where I'll write down the date nights that my husband and I go on. I have a call log where I just briefly write down kind of what I talk about with my best friend because we're very sporadic. Gift ideas and wish list, another kind of Alistair method. So dot under who it pertains to and then what it is on the right. And I take things off my wish list all the time. I have my reading log, so just a rating out of 5 stars. Source, most of this is fanfiction, and then the title in case I want to revisit it. I have a Patreon spread, so just keeping track of the perks that I release for Patreon, income log, which I've not kept up with, shop expenses, a annual weekly kind of DIY spread to keep track of my walking pace, again, that I have not kept up with. And then we kind of move into the daily pages. So the main reason I go with the Mega is that my system kind of relies on having a daily page. I do set up a daily every single day, and I'm a huge fan of the daily log. It really helps me kind of focus on what I actually need to do day by day. And as much as I love a good weekly spread and could maybe fit all of this into a weekly, I just find I do better with my daily, and that is why I always go for the Mega, because I'm gonna set one up for every single day. At the beginning of each month, I fold over just a black dot sticker. These are from Daiso, just so as I'm looking at the spine, I can kind of see where the months are throughout and flick to them a little bit quicker. So this year I have experimented with a horizontal habit tracker across the top of the spread at the beginning of each month. So you'll kind of see I do this all reoccurring, and then below that I do my dailies. So just the date, the day of the week, and then a running to-do list. And then on the right hand side of my dailies, I'll usually do kind of like memory keeping light version. So it could be like all day events like Happy New Year, and then just a couple notes here and there, maybe a sticker, ephemera, the occasional photo. You'll see as we kind of flip through this, but that's my general log of things. I typically set up my daily the night before, and that way in the morning I don't have to do any critical thinking. I just flick open to my to-do list, and then for the most part I will spend all day with the planner open on the daily log and just kind of tackling my current list, and occasionally flicking back to my weekly spreads if I need to add something to an upcoming weekly. I like that this is Tomow River paper because I do occasionally do some watercoloring in here. And if you're curious, I average about 10 pages per month, and I usually can get about 5 to 6 days on a 2-page spread, just depending on how busy I am. So this is what February looked like with an actual semi-filled out habit tracker. I do print out photos occasionally, again, just on Kikuyo business paper, so that it keeps it relatively thin. And this is one thing I'm kind of changing moving forward, because I want my archive to be more of that hobby aspect. I am kind of trying to leave all the photos in here and let this get chunky so that my weeks can be a little bit more just pen to paper kind of functional, but I can't help myself at the end of the day, and I will print things out and kind of glue them in from time to time. Watercolor ditto. This was a habit tracker. I think this is a Patreon exclusive freebie. I was trying to reread the Sarah J. Maas universe. It's not going well, don't ask. March. This is a transfer sticker, I think from some sort of fern. My Stardew Valley reference information is in every planner that I'm in. These images are from Reddit. We saw Dune this year. I think that's the only movie I've seen in theaters. This is actually one of my favorite spreads, now that we're looking at it. Every now and then I do a little bit of micro journaling at the bottom of my dailies as well. April and March were kind of the 2 months where I was using this really exclusively. And I think you can kind of tell because the spreads look just a touch messier, a little less inconsistent, because I'm actually ticking things off real time versus things being backlogged. So I promise there are tons of mistakes in my planner. If I don't point them out, then it's less noticeable. Another debit spread, you'll notice that my clips up here, I guess I haven't talked about them. These are the Midori index clips. They are a metal reusable tab, and I've been using the same set for multiple years and I really like them. They will kind of chew up your page So just be aware of that. But I will tab pretty much any of my habit trackers I need to look at on a daily basis. So I just kind of have developed the muscle memory to make sure every morning I flick through anything that has a top tab, just to make sure that I'm not forgetting about any of my habit trackers. That's something that Rings does a little bit better because I can just put them all behind one divider. But this is debit spread number 2, a sticky note with returns in flight. This was Brandon's birthday. My body measurement spread and some trackers for a nutrition program that I was on. May, sporadically in and out of this notebook. Swatch some new washi tapes. I think these are all from Yohaku from BK. Animal Crossing build list, very important. Another collage I did on Canva when we were moving because I was trying to figure out if furniture was going to work together, and I'm a visual learner. A half blank spread because I intended on printing out photos and never did. A mail forwarding list from when we moved. June. And then July. Another spending list. So spending list number 2, things to de-stash, things we purchased from Amazon, because I get really confused when I do my budgeting on Amazon purchases. Did a bit more doodling this month. Massive camping checklist. That probably should have been a sticky note. And August. And of course, Felix is in my planner. I really like this spread too. I think it turned out really cute. Here's where I start thinking about 2025 Hobonichi plans. And that about gets us caught up for September. I just set up my habit tracker the other day. My September dailies actually started back here. I always just kind of wait until I get to the next 2-page spread. So my dot, instead of it being on the habit tracker, I always put it where the first daily log is of that month, so that when I flick to it, I'm like, okay, I'm at the first entry of September. So that's how I kind of navigate that. And yeah, I'm currently on page 134. There are a couple spreads in the back that I do use. The My 100 I have been trying to use as a content planner. I'm only about a week into this, but I've just been layering some sticky notes approximately over the week numbers, and then just to kind of like pre-plan what my videos are going to be. And then when I get to the month, I take those sticky tabs and I just drop them directly in on the weekly. So for this week, I'm planning on releasing my Hobonichi Weeks update. And then once I actually post that, then I'm going back and logging it with the corresponding week number. So the 1 through 50 is for YouTube, and then 51 through 100, I just kind of reference the left-hand page to see what the week number would be. But this is specifically for Patreon, and yeah, just trying it out. I don't know if this is going to be like the solution, but I am liking it so far. And then the only other spread that I'm really using is the 365 tracker, and I just have tried using this for various things. I've got ideas on how I want to use it for next year, but kind of like challenging myself to a no by September. So that's kind of what that is. And yeah, that's my Hobonichi week. So really quickly, a couple tools that I tend to use in this notebook. The majority of the writing is done with fountain pen. This is my Pilot Vanishing Point and Fine with the atramentis archive ink. I've moved up from my extra fine nib to a fine nib this year, and I just like the chunkier writing. I don't know, I think I just wanted something different. So this has been She's My Baby, my favorite pen to use. I mentioned the hand lettering, but anytime you see like a doodle or any kind of fancy lettering, I'm using my Tombow Fudenosuke hard tip brush pen, which is my ride or die for sketching. And then I also tend to use a zebra mild liner for various habit trackers. This one's the olive one, but I'm also using a blue one as well. And then finally pencil. And if you see my weekly spreads, I've got my, anytime I'm drawing out this rolling weekly, I actually draw it with pencil. This one in particular is the Pentel Orenz in 0.5, but I have various ones. This is just the one that I reached for, is currently in my pen case. I keep blotting paper as well. This is by Airben. I got it from JetPens several years ago, and I'll kind of wipe off my watercolor brush as well as just kind of sticking this in between pages. And then I typically keep a pencil board in the back as well. This one is one from 2021. 2022, I don't remember. This is the Sol Ledier foundation. Ledier. And I like this one, so but I have various. I just kind of keep them tucked in the back, and I use it mostly as a straight edge. All of my like tip-in type of things, I'm usually using my Kikuyo dot liner in removable. I always do removable because I'm a planner hopper, and sometimes I want to move ephemera from notebook to notebook. And the last thing I use pretty consistently is the Hobonichi cover on cover, just the clear one. I took it off because the glare gets really bad, but this is kind of my cover of choice. I do have other ones as well. If you watched my 2025 unboxing video and my Hobonichi Cousin Deep Dive, I showed what those covers are, and I just kind of cycle through them depending on what I am needing. But yeah, I have been liking this one. I will continue probably to dip in and out of it throughout the end of the year, and I do love having just single bound books to put on my shelf, but I am still kind of dipping and in love with my pocket rings. So but yeah, if you guys have any questions, let me know down below. If you made it this long, thank you so much for being here. This is a bit of a rambly one, but yeah, I will talk to you next week. Bye.